Hello, I am Amanda Wacker.
Hola, I am Lennice Castro.
สวัสดีค่ะ I'm Asama Bawa.
And we are the Triplicates. Welcome to the 5th episode of our second season of the Triplicates podcast. We are 3 first-gen women of color in our second year of our PhD program at the University of California, San Diego.
All right, so last episode, we talked a little bit about the tips and tricks of applying to grad school. And this episode
is a continuation of thinking about going to grad school, but we'll be hearing from 2 people who took their own path to grad school.
Okay.
So, spoiler alert, one of them will be me. But first, we have a special guest.
We have a guest. Wait, I think this is our first in-person guest.
it is. You're so honored.
So, let's swap seats.
All right, bring them in. Bring in the dancing lobsters.
I think,
I think an Amanda Show reference is just barely something that I can get with my age group.
Oh,
but I'm here
Amanda
for
Show,
it. I'm here for it.
I mean,
The Amanda Show?
Okay,
That's the dancing lobster.
My entire
that is the
life,
dancing lobster.
every day.
All right. But
yeah. Oh, the Amanda Show. That's funny.
Anyway. So if you've been listening to us since season 1, you'll know that me and Amanda came straight through from undergrad. Asama's going to share her experience about not coming straight through from undergrad and doing biotech for a little bit. But today we have our guest.
I'm Chris.
Okay.
Hello. I work in the same lab as Lennice, and I am a 5th year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, PhD student in the Division of Biological Sciences at UCSD as well.
Woo!
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I'm old.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I get a lot of flack for this, but I think a lot of it's like me bringing it on myself by bringing it up constantly. But that's
No, it's important. And you know what?
Yeah.
People like emailed us to be like, yo, can you guys talk about non-traditional people coming into PhD programs? Like, people want to hear about this. So
Yeah. I feel like when people ask, like when we get those type of questions, like, well, I can't speak to it because that isn't my lived experience.
yeah.
But also, like, my entire life has been in academia, essentially from undergrad to grad school. So it's very refreshing to hear about your experiences. And I have the joy of being in the same lab, so I get to hear them
Aw.
all the time. But we wanted to share with everyone else.
awesome. So yeah, I guess I'll just give you like a little bit of the whole elevator pitch of my life.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm from Maryland, and I've lived all over the place there. And I did, elementary school, middle school, high school, like people do. And when I was done, we kind of had this conversation in my family. Partially, I had actually moved out by the time I was graduating high school, but that's like a whole nother thing. And we were trying to determine if I was going to try to go to school. And basically, when I was growing up, my mom and my grandma were around more than anybody else. And my mom was going to school to get her bachelor's degree when I was growing up. So she was going to school part-time for several years and supporting me and bringing me with her to classes and stuff. So it took her a really long time, and it was kind of like a financial burden and like a stressful thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I was pretty hesitant to want to try to get myself into debt right after high school. Mm-hmm. So I decided that I was not going to do that. And I wasn't really aware of like any scholarship programs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And we certainly could not afford to put me into college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I worked as a body piercer for a long time, mm-hmm. which is maybe sounds like something that's like super easy to do, but it's kind of hard to be good at.
Okay.
You can think anybody can like poke a hole in somebody, right? But to be good at it and make them less stressed out, that's kind of, I guess, the thing. Anyway, so I worked in tattoo shops as a piercer for a long time, mm-hmm. And that brought me down to Georgia. I lived in Canada for a little bit, and then I eventually moved to New York, which I absolutely loved, and it's probably the only other place aside from now San Diego that I would consider living. It's really great. But so I worked there as a piercer, and then I ended up picking up jewelry manufacturing while I was working there as well. I raced bicycles and worked as a bike messenger part-time as well to pay rent, because as it turns out, New York's kind of expensive.
Just a little, just a bit.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah. I did all that, and then I kind of like got into the first time in my life a financially secure position where I was making, for me, like insane amounts of money. So I had like savings for the first time in my life at like 25 years old, which was cool. And it was like a really weird feeling. And I was like, okay, I saved, and what am I supposed to do with this? So I decided to go to community college, and I wanted to be like, I don't really know if I knew what the job market looked like. But I think I wanted to be like a CSI, like, lab tech.
I feel
basically.
like everyone did for a little bit. Yeah.
It's marine biologist.
Yes.
or forensic
The
scientist.
3 careers.
Exactly. Yes, the 3 careers. I had this like rough idea. So I was going to go get an associate's degree because there's a lot of lab tech positions where that's all you need.
Interesting.
It was fairly inexpensive, and the Borough of Manhattan Community College is what I decided on. So if people are familiar with New York, that's like on the West Side Highway. That's like right down by the World Trade Center, basically. So it's a really pretty place. It's cool. It's in New York. It feels very New Yorky, I guess.
Take a left.
Yeah. All right. Hey, I'm schooling here. So I'm sorry. No, you're good. So I'd bike from Brooklyn every day, and then go into to Manhattan to go to school. And I did really well. Like, surprisingly, I didn't really know how I was going to do, and I felt super self-conscious because there's all these like young people for the most part, and they all have like these ambitions to go to 4-year universities. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do, I guess. But I did well. And I think one of the biggest assets, if you want to start talking about things that are, maybe something that non-traditional students or people who are starting school later in life really do have going for them, is you lose a lot of the inhibitions you have when you're younger. And you don't really care about looking stupid in front of people.
Yeah.
So your tendency to like be one of the cool kids and one of the peers and like sit at the back of the class and not talk to people just isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Like, so I would raise my hand and I would like talk and stuff and, try to be like respectful. So I'm not just talking over people and stuff. But like you're engaged and you really want to do it, and you're there for the reason that you're self-motivated, and like no one's making you do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I had a question. So you did your AA, and then did you transfer into a 4-year, or did you do how did that work, I guess?
Yeah. So I got about a year and a half in, and I had taken like a bunch of like gen ed classes, like literature and stuff like that, and some biology classes, because the AA was just going to be in biology. And after about a year and a half, they had a transfer fair, and I hadn't really thought seriously about it. I was just going to get the degree and then maybe look at my options. But there were a bunch of universities that were like waiving application fees, and I honestly didn't know anything about like what a quote unquote good university was for biology. But one of the solicitations that we got in the class was from Columbia University. And I at least knew what Columbia was. And if I'm being completely honest, it's because it was like in movies and stuff.
In Gossip Girl.
It is, yeah.
I didn't know. I honestly didn't know it was an Ivy League school.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what an Ivy League school was, aside from like where rich white people went to school, is like what my association was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I just think of people in like yacht clubs and like, boat shoes and stuff. No offense, respectfully.
Wearing plaid.
but like I didn't know, it just wasn't what I grew up with,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I knew what it was, and I knew it was a big deal. And I was like, okay, well, I should Google this. So I Googled it, and I found
Google
out like
back then?
they had Google back then. Yeah. What we actually had to do was hop off of our dinosaur and then row across the lake and send smoke signals across the. Yeah, it was complicated. Anyway, so I found out like, oh, this is actually a good biology program. Cool. So I applied and I forgot about it for like 2 months because why would these people take me?
Yeah.
But they waived the application fee, so it was free. So I was like, what do I got to lose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got a phone call that I thought was a spam phone call that was like, oh, we've reviewed your application. And I was about to hang up. And then they were like, oh, but you got in to Columbia.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, okay.
Nice.
How much does it cost over there?
Spoiler alert.
So I went from having some savings to being very broke, being very in debt. So that's how I ended up there though. So after a year and a half of community college, I transferred to Columbia, and pretty much had to redo all of the classes I took in community college.
They wouldn't take the credits?
No.
They gave me like gen ed credits.
Okay. But the biology ones.
So you had to take
No.
like all your STEM and upper div classes.
That's kind
That's
of
right.
wild because like why invite them to a transfer fair and then not even be like the things that you've done at this school that I'm trying to pull you out of is like can be used at the school.
Yeah, but
Right.
listen.
It turns out universities really like money.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Would have thunk it.
Yeah. So that was different. And they pretty much like patted me on the head and were like, oh, sweet child. No, you can't bring that biology here. And to their credit, to be honest, like there was a big gap in learning. I would have been setting myself up for failure if I had tried to take those upper division classes and I didn't take the foundational ones at Columbia.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
really hard.
The like resources they have is just a lot different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everything from like tutoring to the credentials. I hate to say credentials, but like the credentials of the professors and like what they've done, like their involvement with research, for instance, up to that point is something that's like hard to recruit for a community college system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did have a great time in community college. I think some of those professors or some of those teachers are like some of the best and most encouraging, like motivating people. And I like can't thank them enough. Truly. It was really wonderful.
So when you got there, now we know you continued with biology and that's what you kind of wanted to do. But I remember going into undergrad. I took bio classes in high school and whatnot, but like then I didn't know what research was or like what it means to do research. How were you introduced to research when you went to Columbia?
Yeah, I actually, so again, this sounds like so ridiculous. I didn't know that was a thing you're supposed to do in undergrad. Like if you're a bio person and you want to do biology, you should probably do research. I didn't even know it was an option.
I don't
I don't think a lot of people know.
didn't know
I didn't
either.
either.
Someone like had to tell me.
That's a fair experience.
Yeah.
So what actually happened was we'll say like, okay, in week 1, I found out that you're supposed to do that because someone in my biology class, like my gen ed or my foundational biology class was like, oh, what lab are you working in? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, why would I be working in a lab? I'm an undergrad. And then they were like, oh, you don't know. You're supposed to do that.
You're like, oh, the transfer student.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, of course. What lab are you in? Maybe I'll join that one. So I had no idea. And I like started panicking kind of because I was already so loaded down with work. And I was like, how am I going to work in a lab? And then I found out you're supposed to do it for free. Like, how does that work? Right? This is a pyramid scheme.
The thumbs down on the side.
Right. So I had no idea. And oddly enough, I had a friend from Georgia who I'll just keep names out of this because it's slightly incriminating for them. But I had a friend
legal reasons.
call me at 2 a.m. and she was quite inebriated. And I thought when you get a phone call at 2 a.m. and you've lived a lot of places and hung out with a bunch of people who party really hard, you think somebody died.
Yeah.
So it's like not a good, like your heart's pounding. I pick up the phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, please don't tell me someone I know and love died.
Yeah.
Sorry, not to get dark.
It's fine.
It's dark outside.
It is. So I said, okay, like, what's up? And she said, are you at Columbia? And I said, yeah, not right now. I'm in my bed. She was like, I have this friend and he manages a lab at Columbia. What are you studying at Columbia? I was like, I like microbiology. I'm studying microbiology. And she was like, he does microbiology. I'm going to call you tomorrow with his contact information. I was like, okay, thanks so much. I hung up. I was like, this person is highly drunk. And then sure enough, she contacted me the next day and she was like, hit this person up. They're looking for someone to work in their lab.
Yeah.
I said, okay. So I hit the person up. They went and interviewed me, and I thought they were going to quiz me. I read all of these papers about this lab. I was like brushing up on all the foundational stuff I was learning. Because I thought they were going to quiz me about what's the electron transfer chain? What's the Krebs cycle? And I was like, oh God, I don't know the Krebs cycle.
Yeah. Who does?
But after it was like a really polite and not cordial conversation. It was relaxed.
Yeah.
And at the end, he was like, okay, well, we need someone to wash dishes.
Okay.
Guess what I can
that's
do?
fine. I can wash dishes. So they were like, but if you wash dishes long enough and you're hanging out around the lab, maybe
does sound like a pyramid scheme.
It does, right? You just got to get 3 of your friends to come, and then no, but they said okay, if you do a good job at this and you're hanging around the lab, you're welcome to come to the lab meetings and learn about the research and stuff. I said okay. So I did. I came and I showed up and I did work study. They called it, which I did get paid. I think $8 an hour for
minimum wage.
Yeah, whatever minimum wage was at the time. Back then,
long ago.
when bread cost a nickel.
Bro, my minimum wage when I was in high school was $7.25 in Florida. You're getting paid a lot.
Fun fact: when I got my first job in omitted.
Redacted.
I was 14 with a work permit in Maryland, and my minimum wage job was $5.15 an hour.
Y'all are wild.
I was
My
washing
first
dishes.
job, I was getting paid like $13.25. I lived in California all my life, though.
Yeah.
So
Maryland ain't cheap though.
Florida.
I don't know, bro.
Yeah, that's true.
Florida.
That's because it's Florida. Sorry. Respectfully.
Anyways, yeah.
So yeah, I washed dishes, and I was probably the most obnoxious dishwasher they ever had in that lab, because I came to every lab meeting and I went to every person's presentation, and I was raising my hand and I was asking questions about anything. And I really did try to do the research too. Like I read their papers beforehand and I figured out their CVs and stuff. And I and I think I asked some good questions, because eventually they were like, all right, do you want to come work in the lab?
Oh, wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Again. Yeah. Do you think that, because as an undergrad, I was shy to ask questions. Do you think, circling back to what you said, coming in,
Or you being older.
having lived life, being older, that also helped you just ask the questions you wanted to ask?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was so much, I thought of it as such this sounds really corny, but I thought of it as a big handicap, but it became very apparent pretty quickly that it was the biggest asset that I had. Not only because you're uninhibited, but because people I think if you are in academia your whole life, or you're groomed to be in academia your whole life,
Yes.
That's a deep sigh.
not everybody, but a lot of people are kind of not super well adjusted in their people skills, their ability to interface with people. Not Lennice, not coming for Lennice. But their interpersonal skills are just not as developed, because they haven't had to work retail and have someone scream at you about getting their latte wrong. You know what I mean?
You ever had a McChicken thrown at you?
I've been pulled into an office because I folded T-shirts incorrectly and was made to cry in an office because of that. So let's just
me with my Western spleen.
Sorry. Anyways. Yes.
But yeah, it was a huge component of it, is you're unafraid, and you've already figured out you're not cool, or I already figured out I'm not cool. So there's nothing to save anymore. Everybody knows I'm lame, so I'm coming for it.
Yeah.
And it was good. I ended up working with a postdoc, and she was really wonderful and super supportive, and helped me from the ground up, everything from how to pipette properly, to doing way more complex stuff, and eventually kind of handed the reins over to me for this project. And with her help and the help of another person whose name I will say, because he unfortunately died in my last year there, Chinweki Okegbi, they pretty much built me up as a scientist, and they were the best mentors I could have possibly had. So yeah, and I got published, and then I got a first author publication. I went from
You got a first author publication?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Go.
That's okay. Thank you.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah. So I set the bar pretty
Really
high
high.
at the beginning, and yeah, it's been a lot of hard work, and it was fun. They pretty actively discouraged me from applying to grad school, which I now understand.
No, okay.
Yeah. Well, here you are.
Here we all
even
are.
though you got active discouragement for reasons we all probably do understand, as a jaded second year, which I shouldn't be.
Not a jaded
I
second year.
No, I love my lab, and anyways.
Yeah. The program though.
What made you still apply and like still
Yeah.
want to go to grad school?
It was kind of a more practical. Well, I guess there were a few reasons. Primarily, it was a practical thing. Like I just went around and looked at salaries for like what can I get, or what is like the ceiling, I guess, when you have a bachelor's degree versus when you have a master's versus when you have a PhD. And like undeniably, you're gonna make more as a PhD.
Yeah.
And these debts ain't gonna pay themselves.
Retweet.
So, and the PhD is like, you know, it is in spite of like some of the more nuanced problems with the way we get paid, which we could go on forever about, I think.
Yeah.
It is like you getting paid to go to school. Like it's a
Yeah.
pretty cool gig. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's also something we should highlight because not everyone knows you get paid to do a PhD.
I had no
Did you?
idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea either.
I was like, you're
Neither.
paying me
Well,
and I go to school?
I think that's like literally the reason they were like, because I think when I was coming in and I was coming in as a pre-med, and then I went to talk to somebody and they're like, yeah, and then they pay you, and I'm like,
Excuse me?
what? Oh, I'm going. Like that's it. Like I don't have to worry about it, because like it is the big thing for a lot of people is like, how am I going to pay for this?
Not a lot,
Like,
but they pay.
It's, yeah, they don't pay you
they
that
don't pay a
much.
lot, but like it's more than I made in
Survivable.
undergrad.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So-
Absolutely. And I couldn't figure out how it happened. I thought it was a pyramid scheme, and then I found out it is a pyramid
It
scheme.
is.
But it's working in our favor for now. So yeah,
It is
we'll
what it
circle
is.
back to that at some
okay.
point, I guess. So the question was why did I?
Yeah, what was the decision making?
Why? So I kind of learned that you have ideally, hopefully, if you join a good lab, you have some creative input about a project. And the opportunity, if you don't plan on being in academia, like working as a PI, for instance, to helm a project and to like creatively develop something and then bring it to fruition, it's pretty much the only opportunity you get to do that. And you get to like experience, you know, doing things and failing at them and trying again and failing at them and failing and failing and failing. But
It's looking good for me, everyone.
You're doing great.
I know. Okay.
it is like, it's the best way to learn, like
That's-
to be able to get your hands dirty and do those things. If you want to do that and have that opportunity to really diversify what your learning base is, you got to do a PhD, I think.
Okay.
And do you think anything that helped you in undergrad starting like later in life? Not that you're old.
Yeah, one thing that I think is like an uncomfortable thing to bring up and maybe doesn't get brought up a lot when people have these conversations about like non-traditional, I'm using air quotes right now, students, is that professors they're people, you know, and they can be kind of mean sometimes, or like, even if they're not intending to be mean, they can say things that have a really profound effect on a student's psyche.
Yeah.
And I had I'm really trying to be judicious about the way I say this.
It's okay.
I had an undergrad professor who was world acclaimed. Like this
At
person,
Columbia.
at Columbia, who like is very well respected. I'm not even going to use pronouns in the world.
Yeah.
And this person straight up told me when I went to their office hours that I had no future in a PhD program. I should quit science.
What?
And just finish up my degree and call it a day. And that they like, I cried myself to sleep. I was
I
so
would
miserable.
too.
And like, I respected this person, you know?
Yeah.
But I think the thing that my life experience had taught me was like, after I had a minute to like lick my wounds, was that, dude, who the hell cares what this person has to say? Like, I'm doing it and I'm gonna keep doing it. And like, you know, I've
And you're
been through worse.
You know what?
Almost
Spite is a
done.
great motivator.
At spite, I mean,
Yeah. That's true.
it's.
I mean, in less than a year, you're going to be a doctor, bro.
Yeah.
I think so.
You should just invite them to your dissertation defense.
I considered
this out.
sending a petty email like, "Oh, I just figured you might want to see this." And, like, just rage send. Yeah, I don't think I'll do that. But yeah, the urge
Yeah,
is
they're
there.
just there.
Yeah.
The petty.
So yeah, like coming from a place of understanding, and then also realizing that it's not the end of the world. If one person thinks that you can't do something, or one person has some really harsh criticism for you, maybe they had a really bad day, and that doesn't excuse the way that they're treating you.
Yeah.
But it's nice to contextualize that and not let it just crush you.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't had that experience beforehand, I think it would have actually been crushing for me, and I might have actually decided like, oh man, I shouldn't apply to PhD programs because I'm an idiot who can't figure out the Krebs cycle.
I can't either. It's okay. In the words of Amanda, words mean things. And people shouldn't say mean things.
Yeah. I'm very sorry that happened to you, but I'm glad you've overcome that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm still like a little bit bitter. If I'm being honest.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think it was a nice thing to just remember that not everything is sunshine and daisies, and like sometimes it does suck. And how you this is everything I'm saying sounds so corny. How you respond to that is really what defines you as a person. But it is.
But it's true.
It is. Yeah.
Okay, one or two more things, and then we can.
Well, I've said all the
questions.
questions, so you can ask a question.
Yeah, let me marinate on that for a second.
Yeah. Okay. Marinate. The word.
I think so the problem is I'm already here.
That doesn't sound like a problem. We're very happy to have you here.
Thank you. But like I think a lot of people are like, take a break if you can, like take a break if you can.
Yeah.
But like I'm already here, so like that advice doesn't help me. I'm just gonna do it. But like I guess if there is someone that is an undergrad listening to this, like would you say take a break, or like do whatever is best for you, or like what advice would you pass on, doing what you've done,
or
to
like
someone thinking about doing this?
Or like if they didn't take a break, how do you handle taking mini breaks during PhD? Because I think you can speak on that.
Yeah. So obviously it's an immense privilege to be able to have time off, right? Like in the real world, most people have to work. And that makes it difficult to do things like travel the world, or like, do all of these things that are really wonderful things to experience. And they do add like texture and context to your life when you get to experience different places, or live in different places, even just like dumb stuff like me living in Georgia or Canada or New York and then here, like all of those things have shaped me as a person. And it is an immense privilege. At the time it didn't feel like it, that's for sure. But like in retrospect, it definitely made me a more rounded person. So my advice would be, if it's financially feasible, or if there's a way you can swing it, like absolutely, like go live somewhere that's completely out of left field. Like go Thailand. Yeah, I did get to spend a little time in Thailand too, which was lovely. Like go places, travel places if you can do it.
Yeah.
Like, great. And if you can't, realize that like just because people are talking about that doesn't mean that they're more well adjusted than you necessarily, because sometimes like having to struggle for something or having to really work hard for something is more of a character building exercise than you artificially spending time in a different country and then claiming that makes you worldly, and I think people know those types of people too,
Yeah.
Oh, we
right?
do.
Like they exist. Yeah. So I think that's great. But if you do have time, take it. And if you don't, then you're going to have time in the future. And that's why we're doing this partially, right? Is to be like in a position where you're secure enough to be able to do those things in the future.
Yeah.
So it's never too late.
And then if it is too late and you're stuck in a PhD,
if you apply to a PhD right out of undergrad.
How do you deal with like just doing it? I don't know.
As a
like, what do
fifth
you do
year,
on your free time? I guess is the question.
So I think when you're rotating, for instance, even though I know y'all are way past.
It's okay.
rotation.
People that are rotating now are
people are
listening.
rotating.
Yeah.
So
a great thing to test with your potential PI in terms of compatibility and work-life balance is just straight up ask, like, or tell them really, like, I'm going to take 2 weeks off in December.
Yeah.
And then just see how they react. Because if they're not willing to do that, or they're going to start trying to bargain with you when you're still a rotation student, you're setting yourself up for a really messed up work-life balance. And, you shouldn't necessarily abuse the privilege, I suppose, but like, you should be able to take time off, especially with the salary that we make. And the number of science units we produce, the things that we add as far as value to a university system is very valuable. And it's certainly beyond the value that we get paid.
Say it for the people in the ivory tower. Continue.
So
Yeah.
you're a powerful unit, you know, and you deserve time off, and you're going to work better when you have time off.
I agree.
So
Yeah.
even if you really like the science in some place and the PI is telling you like, oh yeah, 2 weeks, I don't think we can swing that, then just don't go there. Like ultimately you're training yourself as a scientist, and being stoked about the project is fine, but at the cost of your mental health and well-being for the entire duration of your PhD, it ain't worth it. Like,
Yeah.
Snaps.
so go with somebody who's going to support you. That's way
Yeah.
more important. Put your fancy science person on your committee and let them deal with you once a year.
Yeah. That's good advice.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll write
advice.
it down.
That was very lovely. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing.
Thank you for finally coming on the pod.
I know. I asked him maybe a year ago now, and he said no.
I'm shy.
It's okay. Now we're besties.
Now we're friends. So
Well, thank you to Asama for letting me steal her microphone for a minute or two. I
Yes.
appreciate the longer than a minute, 31 minutes or two.
yes.
Asama.
Wait. So now we have a very
hold
special
on.
guest.
Oh wait, do the Doja Cat entrance. You know
What?
What the Doja Cat? What they say? Do you know what I'm talking about? The like, ladies and gentlemen. No.
Oh,
The
ladies and
Doja-
gentlemen, is it her? It's been a long time since you really love.
Anyways, I present to you Asama.
Asama.
Yeah, can you please walk in?
Can you come?
Hello. Okay.
Asama.
Hi,
Chris
Asama,
is
Ama,
germs.
Ama, Ama.
Oh, do you? I can sanitize it for you. I have my spray.
What is this scent? Something fruity.
It's the green spray from Bath and Beyond, Bath and Body Works. I always do that. I think it's like lemongrass and something citrusy.
And you don't like citrus.
Pretty good. Yeah, I don't like eating citrus. It's tangy.
One time, or more than once, I was trying to convince everyone I knew that the word is not tangy, but it's tangy. And it originates
How
from
did that go?
tangerine. And they were like, wait, that makes so much sense. And
Are you a professional gaslighter?
and I was able to convince like everyone on my team at work to say tangy.
Oh no. Now
And I'm like, English not my first
Why does it
language, but
sound
I
tangy?
know.
I know. I learned. Someone told me that.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Yes.
Okay, Asama. So I think we've maybe introduced ourselves a bunch of times, but it was like season 1 trailer. I think when we talked about this. So do you want to do like a quick run through of like, okay, this is like where I come from?
Oh no.
Oh no. Okay.
I'm getting therapy flashbacks.
oh no, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
You don't have to go super in depth.
I guess
if you
I
want
can
to.
start where Chris started, which
Yeah.
is like where I sort of grew up. So I'm originally from Thailand, Swadika. And I know more than Swadika, but I think like there are 2 people from Thailand who listen. So maybe most people don't know Thai. Yeah. And kind of similar to Chris, actually, I grew up moving around a lot to various parts of Thailand, which was really cool because I thought that I was like on this big adventure with just me and my mom and and like every place we went, like our goal was to find like the best beach or like the best street food or just like things that we liked and can like call our own. Like it was really sweet. When I was about 12 or 13, my mom decided to follow her dream of, you know, like what Chris was saying, that like going somewhere, living like out of your comfort zone and trying new things, which to be honest, when I was little, I was like, why would you do that to me? I'm 12. But it did result in us moving to the US, which again, I think I'm pretty net positive happy about because now
You're
I get to
friends.
also live this life. I was, yes, and we're friends.
Didn't even acknowledge it.
Yeah, and as time passes every year, my mom and I would talk about how like look, this is the year where you've lived in America more than Thailand. And I was like, wow, that's true. So it was really sweet. But like maybe any or most immigrants, like moving here was really hard for us. We didn't really have connection or didn't really have the money or like couldn't figure out like what the school system was. So it was rough. Plus we were in New Hampshire, which was like the whitest place. So it was not great. I sometimes tell people this, that it was so white that I didn't know I was a person of color. And I think that speaks volume because I'm like, oh, I'm just being whitewashed at this place. So it was not that great. But I managed to find like some really good friends from high school who I'm still friends with. And I think that made it more of a, again, a positive experience. So after high school, I went to Northeastern, which is a 4-year private institution in Boston. I got a bunch of scholarships through like the school, and I was able to go there tuition free.
Wait, what years did you go? I feel like we've talked about this before.
2013 to 17.
We would have overlapped by a year.
Yeah, but then I would have been like a senior, and you would have been like
an itty-bitty freshman.
An itty freshman, and you wouldn't have been my friend.
Yeah.
That's okay.
maybe you would have been too cool because you would have been like a Gen Z,
And I would have, yeah, it's okay.
Lennice is like, we still Gen Zs.
Yeah, a little. I think we have a moment.
I think I'm more Gen Z than Lennice.
Yeah, okay. I didn't want to say it.
That's okay. I grew up on the internet.
Yeah, she did. I did.
The person that runs our social media has been my friend for 10 years, and we met on a social media website.
Yeah.
So
Which person? There's 2 of them.
December.
Okay.
December.
Yeah, so I went to Northeastern, and so if you recall, my mom works as a nurse, which I guess like a salty story. When she moved here, they like wouldn't take her RN training, so they made her like retake the community college courses to like be like. There's so many types of nurses you could be.
Yeah.
And she's not like what she could be because of her accent and like her language barrier. So when I say she's a nurse, she's actually like somewhere in between like a nurse aide and like a nurse.
Was she a nurse, like an RN in Thailand?
Yeah.
So she was like a fully accredited, and then they didn't take it when she got here. Okay.
Because they're like, oh, this is a school in the middle of nowhere. Like, we don't care.
Yeah.
But the ridiculous part is like, so my mom is fine now. Like, she's working and like, she managed to become like the head nurse for like the people that she works with.
Go, Mom.
But she always says that like, the 8-week courses taught me like no practical skills. Like I didn't get to do any of like this big management, like strategic thinking, like problem solving. I would just like memorizing what a morphine is and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was obviously inspired by my mom because she's this like superhero. She raised me. She moved to a new country. She like got everything started for us. So I was inclined to pursue sort of like studies or like maybe a career in like science related things. And then I was taking classes and I was like, what if I want to be a doctor?
Like a medical doctor?
Yeah, or like a physician assistant or a nurse practitioner type thing. So I went to the pre-med office, and this is kind of like similar to what Chris was saying earlier. The teacher looked at my transcript, or the advisor looked at my transcript, and she was like, well, you didn't really take a lot of AP classes in high school.
This is when you were already in college and they're looking at your AP classes?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, sorry, I'm just taking the intro classes. I'm like a wee freshman. And she was like, well, you could go to medical school, but you could only apply to historically Black medical school.
Hello?
And that to me was really confusing because I was like, are you saying that I'm not good enough? Are you saying that those schools are not good enough? Like, what's that?
Yeah, what is the implication right here?
There's a lot of aggression in that statement.
And because of how the system was set up at Northeastern, like everything has to go through this person. And I already had a bad experience with them. I just like did not want to pursue like medicine or like medicine related career, at least like from the get-go.
Yeah.
So then I asked, okay, what is like something tangible that I can actually do? And she redeemed herself by telling me like the one most helpful piece of advice that eventually led me here, which is join a lab.
Yeah.
So that semester I was taking, semester not quarter, I was taking genetics with this professor, Eric Stewart, who is a teaching professor. And we all know they care about teaching a lot, the good ones.
The good ones.
So I talked to him and I said, hey, like, what does it mean to join a lab? Like, are you a bacteriologist? Like, how does this work? And he's like, well, I like switch gears to teaching now, but my postdoc lab is at Northeastern and here are the people you should talk to. So I emailed them and they said, sorry, we're full. And I'm like, how can you be full? It's volunteer.
That's a great question.
Like, don't you want an extra person to wash dishes? I'm really confused. So then they said, can you email me back in 4 months? And I was like, bet. So I sent my reminder. 4 months later, I said, hi, I'm back. And they were like, oh, you are back.
Persistence.
It's funny because one of the things they studied was persisters. So I got introduced to my mentor, who still is my mentor today, Phil Strandwitz, who was working on this project that was related to the gut-brain axis and microbiome. And that's cool. How I got started in microbiology and poop science.
Yeah, I was about to say the love of poop.
All
the
this
beginning.
fun stuff, which honestly, like, not only did Phil teach me how to like pipette or like build me up as a scientist, as Chris was saying earlier, he also was going through this process of literally turning like the project that we're working on into a biotech. And I thought that I was in a really privileged position to watch him like go to these meetings, like create a like pitch deck and like negotiate whatever funding he was working with. So I thought that experience was really positive, and when it came time to deciding, okay, what do I want to do after undergrad, I was super excited by, I think something about being in Boston and Cambridge is really like inspiring because like so many people are starting their own companies or biotech and things that are just like right there. So I wanted to be one of those. Plus I needed the money. So I'm like, okay, let's do this. Yeah.
So you were in this lab, you saw this person making a biotech company, and then you're just in Boston. There's a lot of things happening. What was the transition from, okay, I'm an undergrad, okay, I'm getting this job at this biotech company?
And how did you find the job? That's like a question that how do we,
how we gonna get a job after this? Asama? How you write a cover letter?
The mailing list.
The mailing list?
Yeah. So because there are so many schools in Boston, and I think it's just like a really great environment for biotech in general and also like microbiology as well. I would go to these like microbiome conferences. One of them I actually helped organize in a later year. It was between Harvard and MIT. And they were like, look, job posting. And I'm like, oh, cool, let me apply. And similar to Chris, I applied and I was like, probably not going to get it. 2 months later, forgot about it. And then they emailed me and they said, oh, great. Do you want to talk? And I was just like, okay. So I applied to a bunch of places and had already like started interviewing and like in a later stage with like a lot of them. But this company seemed cool because you guessed it was a poop company as well.
Yes. So did you do this during undergrad or was this like after graduation?
Both. I started working with poop in undergrad. I continued working with poop in after undergrad.
Oh, but like applying to the companies and stuff.
Yeah, I think it was like the last like couple months of undergrad.
Nice.
Yeah, and I really liked how, I don't know how I got this idea about what a company should look like, but mostly because I wanted to work with/for someone who is like my current mentor at the time, Phil. So when I was going to these interviews, I was also interviewing them and asking them like, what's your time off policy? How do you manage people in different levels? How do people move up through the ranks? And that was like one of the first things that sort of like told me that I needed an advanced degree if I want to run my own thing someday.
Yeah. And did those questions come from you, or like did your advisor at the time be like, these are like some things you should ask? Or like, did you just like kind of pick that up that it was like, oh, this is an important thing I should ask about?
I would like to say that it came from me because I like don't have good memory.
Okay.
But it was probably through osmosis.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of things, well, life is hectic. And during undergrad, there were times where I had to take some days off because like I was in like a bike accident.
Oh my gosh.
Some things that are like health related that I would just like, sorry, I can't come in.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Phil said that I still remember is that like I take really good care of my people. Like I never question them why they need the day off because like when they're here, they're fully present. So if they're not here, like I also need to respect their time. And I was like, wow, this is really deep and weird. Why would you tell me this? I'm a sophomore. But now I remember.
I was sophomore.
Yeah.
But it stuck with you. And
Yeah.
you're not a sophomore.
Yes.
Well, technically.
Whoa, are we?
We're second years, I guess.
Sophomore-ish.
Sophomore-ish.
If we were releasing an album, this would be our sophomore album. Thank you. You're welcome.
Actually, in my pottery class the other day, I was sitting next to this like protege who makes like elaborate things. Meanwhile, I was like, okay, how do I center this clay? And I was talking to him and I said like, hey, like, what do you do? Like, what year are you? And he said, I'm a second year. What about you? And I'm like, I too am a second year. And he's like, oh, you're a sophomore? And I was like, oh, not quite.
No. Guess
So,
again.
I don't know. If y'all know what to call us, let us know.
I think we're just second years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask about like, okay, what does an industry job look like? Because the other thing is like maybe talking about like when talking about like non-traditional backgrounds is like someone in undergrad who's either maybe deciding maybe I should take some time off and go work, or like someone that has been working and is like, oh, is going back into a PhD program like something I want to do, right? So like for someone who's an undergrad, like what is like going into industry like? What are you doing? Like what is the job like? That kind of thing.
Yeah. So again, being in the Boston and Cambridge area, I was really lucky to have seen a lot of people working in biotech with different motivations at different capacities. Some people are literally like, I just want to show up, do stuff, leave. And I want to be really good at it. I want to do it for like 15 years. And then I want to buy a nice house. And then I want to keep doing it.
I would love a nice house.
Me next.
But I think like the key thing that happened to me was at first I was perfectly fine with being that person, like showing up, doing stuff, leaving. And then I guess I got attached and I kept wanting to ask like more. I wanted to take a project in a different direction. I started having like pet projects. I started asking questions in like big like company meetings. And it just sort of like clicked for me that, okay, like there's so many ways that you could work in industry, but if you wanted to like shape the direction or be creative about the process, like maybe go get more training and come back and
So
do that.
Was that the like main reason you came back to academia?
Yeah, and also I wanted to make biotech less toxic.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, you're getting
Academia
practice
needs it
here.
too.
No, actually I forgot who I was telling this to, but like I think I'm getting more practice than I thought I would because not only am I like, you know, doing stuff in the lab, trying and failing and failing and failing and failing and trying new thing and failing like a million times. There are also like these like social things and like bureaucracy things and just a lot of politics that I was like, dang, these are training wheels. But I will say that similar to what Chris said about like having lived basically a whole other life before coming here, is your inhibitions are at a different level. And to me, like sometimes I still feel shy about asking questions in class. But when I was rotating, I was just like, so how do you manage someone? And they're like, where is this question coming from? And I was like, I've had some really good bosses that listen to me. So like, what are you going to be?
Yeah. It's not like you're going to manage me for the next 5 years. And
Yeah, exactly.
This is not
and
a
I would ask like,
out-of-field
are you
question.
open to feedback? Because this is a working relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm
That's
not
a
just
great
gonna,
thing.
you know, do whatever you say. And they were like,
Interesting.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess mine came out in that flavor.
You know what else is good about, you know, taking some time off and coming back? You got a fully developed prefrontal cortex.
Couldn't be me.
Couldn't be me
Give
either.
me 2 years.
People ruin their prefrontal cortex.
Some
when
people
they
have
take some
done
time
that.
off.
Yeah. Yes.
Another thing that I thought was nice was I learned what it's like to pay a lot of tax before coming here and just like doing the life thing.
Yeah.
Figuring out which landlord is sus from Craigslist. And just,
Yeah, it couldn't be me, bro.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
yeah.
You know, I'm glad I have a life mentor who could maybe help me
Yeah, me
suss out
too.
which Craigslist person is sus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were in industry and you were going to these meetings and you're like, I need to get more training. What made you be like, I'm going to get more training now? Like, was it like, I have to do this now? Like, or were you like,
that's a
oh,
good
maybe I
question.
should take another? Because you were for like 2 years in industry.
Yeah.
Almost
3,
okay,
right?
so I was 2 years at one company and then I switched jobs.
Oh, okay.
And this was my answer to when I came here to interview. My first year advisor, Jens like Anderson, asked like, what's the proudest thing you've done in like his Dutch accent? And then I said, honestly, quitting my first job. And he was like, do tell. And
Yeah.
I'm going to tell everyone that
Thank you.
it was because so my first job, I was like, okay, happy to just be the hands. I'll do whatever. I want to get paid. I want to like do this and not care about like which direction it's taking because it's fine. And after a while, I think I began to, again, like be curious about different aspects of the project or even like beyond. And if you've been in a startup or if you like have seen like startup movies, like things change like very rapidly. Like fundings get cut. Now you're working on a new disease. People get laid off, and then like some C-suite person gets hired. It's just like very hectic.
What does that mean?
C-suite, like
Yeah.
CEO, CFO.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because of that, it was a combination of like things being hectic, and I just had an interest or like, I don't know, I just wanted to build new skills. I just told my boss, Jen, like, it's not about you. It's about me wanting to do other things. And she was like, yeah, this is great. Like, I'll be your reference.
Nice.
So I think like that made the transition a little easier. And I knew I didn't want to go to grad school like right away because I feel like I was at the beginning of like just like something. Like I think I needed more training in like that realm, which was like bacterial engineering and like trying to create I don't know if I can give this away, but basically I wanted to see if I like that kind of field before coming here.
Yeah.
And after 1 year of doing that, I was like, okay, I'm ready. So I don't know if that's answering your question of why 3 years and not 2 or not 5.
No,
That's okay. I think it just explains your motivation.
But I think it was like my curiosity was at like a point where I was like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
But when you made the decision to apply, this is going to sound corny, but did you just know that it was time? You know?
Did I know
just
that
know?
was time?
Did you just know?
I don't know. I was like more than happy to be making like a lot more money.
Yeah.
Once again, could it be me?
Wow.
What did?
Did we make a mistake?
I had a few, like not my direct boss, but like at the scientist level who kept like encouraging me and telling me that like, you're ready. Like,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah,
do
that's
this.
nice.
And I was just like, shout out to Edelise. She's the best.
That's cute.
So yeah. Oh, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Pete, my partner, did his whole math PhD like right after undergrad.
Yeah.
And I saw like not biology, but still like a PhD student, like what that's like to be a PhD student and how like engaged and like how much not like fun, but
Math
maybe
can be
some
fun.
Yeah. Like all the different types of trainings he could be doing, from like teaching to research to giving presentations to doing outreach. And I thought, this seems like a really rich, like 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And I was more than happy to just be like a set of hands and do whatever like science, the companies that I could do. But I was really missing the aspects of like learning how to teach or doing outreach or setting up a program for someone to apply to grad school and mentoring in that capacity.
I love
So
that.
I guess I am corny too.
It's okay.
No. It's your lived experience, friend.
Do you
It's
have
not
questions?
corny.
I have a question.
Okay, go.
Okay, Okay, so what did you take from your experience of working in industry and what did you bring like into your grad school experience? Like what helped you?
So many things. I would say the things that I get the most comments on are just like how I like go to meetings. I show up and I'm like, what's the agenda? And they're like,
Very
the agenda
organized.
is we talk about what we're going to do. And I'm like, okay, but can I talk about things that I need your answers on? And then talk about things that are time sensitive. Then we talk about this that we talked about last time. Then we talk about free stuff. And they're like, okay. And then I send action items. And then in one of the emails, one of the episodes, I said like in my email, like I would include like time sensitive or like action required.
Yeah.
So I think just like communicating in a way that's maybe like more direct or abrasive than like what I've seen in academia. But I actually read my deadlines, so I love that.
Say
for
it,
me.
girl. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I think
like project management, time management, and kind of like understanding what's possible with like given my other responsibilities or like energy level.
Those are
And this is very
great.
personal. Like I don't promise that everyone's gonna do that.
Yeah. That's like very important skills though. I think that's a lot of stuff that I'm struggling with too. It's like managing. Oh.
And that too.
Oh.
Go ahead. Say it.
Speak for a woman of color.
Sorry.
We're all women of color.
Yeah. No, but like manage like that the whole like how much can I put on my plate at once and still like get everything done is like sometimes I say yes to a bunch of things and I'm like I'm not gonna say yes to anything for a while and then I don't say yes to anything and I'm like dang let me say yes to all this stuff again and then it's just like
Couldn't be me.
a cycle. Yeah. Any questions?
No.
Okay, so I will ask you the same question I asked Chris. What is your advice to people that are, thinking about doing this one way or another?
Like working before coming here?
Either working before coming here or they're working and thinking about maybe going back to school.
Ooh. Well, the second question I think is easy because it's very obvious in your application or during your interview if you don't want to get a PhD. Because if you're working and you're like, oh, I want to go get a PhD because that seems different and maybe I'll like it, then maybe some programs will not want that from you and they'll be like, no, thanks. So again, this is coming from a place of privilege. Like some people get advanced degrees for many different reasons. But in an ideal world, like this is a training program that trains you how to think, how to like create, ask questions, like come up with new things if you can, but like keep asking questions. So if that's not your cup of tea, if you don't want to go out on a limb and ask like, will this work? Then maybe that's not for you. And for people who are in PhD program right now and wanting to work in industry, I say go for it. Make that money. Make the world a more diverse, complex place. Like we all know not everyone's going to be, like running their own lab because it would be pretty interesting if we had like 1 million academic labs. But I think it would be more cool if we had biology PhD trained people in different capacity. The other day I was talking to someone who's a venture capitalist, like investing in like cell cultured meat. And then I asked, do you have a biologist on your team? And they were like, no. And I said, do you want one?
Hello? Are they?
We're talking out.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. So and I think like it's for public policy, it's for safety issues.
Job.
Like if we can, use our training to do these different things, then maybe we'll have better understanding of biology, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're hiring, then like give us 4 or 5 years, depending
on, listen, I feel like
no, you can
let
do
me be
this
a
now. You can
consultant.
consult now.
Yo,
true.
low key, I need the money.
I knew someone who was a PhD student in Cambridge who was like consulting fully for like a couple of startups.
Dang. And I think someone I know while they were, but it was like towards the end of their PhD, they did an internship where they were like consulting and they would like read proposals and then be like, yeah, the science is sound or this isn't going to work.
Yes.
So it's like, it's doable.
You're trained for this.
Yeah, you are trained for this. Wow, look at us.
Once again,
you teach me.
get that money.
Get your bag. Okay. All right. I learned a lot. Did you
too? Yeah,
I
think
too,
it's great
from the
talking
both
to
of
people.
y'all.
Me too. I learned a lot about Chris.
Yes. But it was like really wonderful to hear about your guys' lives and experiences outside of academia and what you did before and what made you amazing scientists, but also beautiful human beings. Oh. I know.
That came from the heart. That wasn't even written down.
Yes, it was. Oh my God, don't cry.
No, don't cry. We got her too. Everyone's crying.
Don't call me beautiful on my own podcast.
What did I say?
You're
Beautiful.
beautiful
Oh, I'm
people.
sorry.
Dang.
Sorry, it's the Amanda Show.
Bring in the dancing lobsters. Sorry.
So I know that helped me. I hope that helped everyone out there listening to us. Because apparently there's a few of you, just a couple.
Sated Factory is a Black-owned skincare brand that prides itself in providing natural, homemade products.
If you're a skincare buff and love to have the taste of luxury at home on a university budget, these products suit those needs.
They have 3 scented exfoliating scrubs that are catered to help different skin concerns.
As you head into another school year, having a scrub that not only nourishes your body but helps you relax after a long day is a must.
And you can use code TriplicatesPod10, all caps, for 10% off your order.
And that's at satedfactory.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we say goodbye, what is one thing you would do differently before applying to grad school? If there is anything.
Is this for everybody?
Yeah.
Oh.
A quick one, though, because we're long.
Can I say something bold?
Go. Oh,
I would have taken a year off.
that's fair.
Yeah.
That's not bold. That's normal,
Yeah.
I think. I think that's take a year off, friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Asama?
This is not a cute answer, but I would put more money into retirement and watch that grow.
Yeah.
Christopher? Oh.
Were you talking with your mic backwards?
No.
I had an answer, but then I just heard Osama's, and that is the correct answer, which is to have saved more money and maybe have a 401k, I guess. Yeah. Still learning exactly about all these finance things. Yeah. That.
Being a realist, the job market after my graduation kind of sucks. So I would have not changed going into grad school as soon as I did.
Yeah, but we didn't know. We didn't know COVID was going to happen.
I know, but it did. So I'm happy in reflection that I'm here.
I think the only reason I'm okay right now is because I was online for like my summer internship. I think if I was in person, I would be so tired right now.
Yeah.
I would be so tired.
Oh yeah, take a break. If you can take a break summer. I was a couch potato on my bed. So a bed potato. Moving on.
I did an internship.
Yeah. We can't all be Amanda.
Well, I needed the money to move. That's like the
fair.
only reason
That's
I did
fair.
it.
I literally worked
That
until
is
the
true.
very last day.
Yeah.
I saved, if you are the lucky one getting paid to do undergrad research, save that money. And that's the only reason I could move here without cutting into anyone else's payments. Yeah. I didn't cost my parents a dime moving here.
Okay.
And I'm proud of that. Yeah.
Self-sufficient.
Exactly.
We love that.
We do.
Okay.
Let's round out the show. Do some observations. Run some stats on our data. Asama, what's the question of the week?
So the question of the week is, how many PhD students in our study? We have more N
N
now.
of 4 now.
I know.
The stats are going to be difficult.
No, it's
would
not.
have
It's easier.
changed their path to their PhD.
No.
No.
Oh, well, I just said I would have taken a year off. But I think I'm happy I am where I am. I'm happy where I am. Yeah.
Me too. I wouldn't have met y'all. I know.
Chris.
Oh yeah, you'd be gone. Oh my God.
I would also say no, in spite of the fact that I think during a bunch of times, I probably would have definitely said yes. But in retrospect, no.
Give me like a year. Asama?
Are you going to cry?
I feel like I want to say yes, but I don't know what specifically. Like I was,
That's okay.
Yeah, I was interested in doing so many things.
Yeah.
I could have like moved to a different part of the country or like part of the world to do science.
And that's on the gut brain axis. Just telling you. Listen to your gut.
That's so funny.
That's my poop telling me.
That was so funny.
Okay, so with that, 75% of the PhD students in our study wouldn't change their path, and 25% would.
And as always, if you're curious about a topic or want to hear from us, please let us know.
Yeah, and we stay on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Triplicates Pod, so you can reach us there. Or
Wait, actually, Dee just told me she got locked out of our TikTok account.
oh no,
So
Maybe don't stay on TikTok.
so maybe not TikTok, maybe Twitter and Instagram. Oh.
you can see all
We'll
of our
keep you
TikToks on
updated.
Instagram.
Yeah. And you can also reach out to us via email at triplicatespod@gmail.com. And if you love us and support us, you can support us fiscally as well.
Physically?
No.
Fiscally. That's how you say that
Fiscally?
word, right?
Fiscally?
Basically.
It's okay.
Financially.
Psycho.
Patreon.com/triplicatespod. And with that,
Obrigada y ciao.
gracias y adios.
Bye.
Kapun ka. Bye.